Welcome back to the Pre-Vetted podcast, where we spotlight extraordinary people and remarkable talent reshaping our world. Our guest today is Shailin Saraiya. He's a senior engineer manager at Roku, where he leads high-performing, globally distributed teams, building scalable systems that power millions of streaming experiences. He has over a decade of experience across tech giants like Roku, Sony, and many others. He has driven large scale content management systems, led major launches like the Roku channel in Mexico, um, and pioneered cost saving initiatives using AI and machine learning. Today, we're going to deep dive into how Shailin thinks about building effective, globally distributed teams. Hello, Shailin. How are you doing today?
Hey Federico, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I am doing great. As we were talking before, I'm just coming back from San Francisco, so catching up with the new rhythm of coming back to my office.
All right. Right.
Yes, yes. So let's talk a little bit about the globally distributed engineering teams. What are some unique challenges that you face managing, this type of teams?
I think that's a great question, Federico. I think one of the biggest challenges that we face is the time zone overlap, right? I do have teams in the US, India, and Ukraine, and as you can see, there is a narrow window for real-time collaboration, right? So we have had to adopt a culture of asynchronous communication. So we rely heavily on documentation and clear handoffs. Uh, One of the other challenges that we face is building a unified team culture. When people are in the same room, it's easy to build that culture. When people are, if teams are distributed across the globe, then you cannot rely on hallway conversations. You cannot have shared lunch to build that connection, right? So we have had to be very intentional with our team rituals. So we have like global demos, we have regular recognitions, we also have one-on-one conversations to create that sense of belonging. uh, the other challenge that we face is cultural differences in communication style, uh, and that specifically sort of also come into the play. Some teams are more direct, whereas other teams are more reserved. So it's important to create a safe space where everyone feels heard, regardless of where they sit.
Yes, yes, I agree on intentionally building the uh, the culture. Um, you when you're managing these teams, you have the unique opportunity. Well, I believe that you have this unique opportunity to shape how these communications are going to be because the of the nature of the remote team, they are isolated, right? So you can design how that communication is going to be, right, up to a certain level, but uh, but that I think that's a unique opportunity. Um, but as you said, it has to be intentional, right? Yeah, and there is a big difference when you see a email address or a photo profile, whatever. You know, um, it's it's the level of communication that you can have. It's less effective compared to someone that you know personally and you have a personal relationship, right? Or you had lunch with, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I think that building that personal relationship is a key, right? When you are sitting with someone in the same office, as I said, right, you can have in-person meetings, you can have lunches, you can have hallway conversations, right? Uh, those things really help. But when your teams are not at the same place, not in the same region, then it makes it a little difficult to have those kind of things. So it becomes really important that you have, like as I said, like you have global demos, you also have one-on-one conversations, you also sort of do regular recognition as well, where everyone feels that. that they are part of the team, and in a way you sort of try to create a sense of belonging.
Yes, yes. And you touched something interesting about direct feedback, right? It's direct communication. It's a sign of disrespect, right? And that's a cultural shift that, uh, you know, in the American culture, they're more used to, direct communication, right? And here,
That
with
is
teams with other cultures, you have to, you know, build more steps into that, right?
right, right, exactly, exactly. As you said, like in the States, we tend to be more direct. But if you go, let's say, this is just an example, but let's say if you go in
Right.
India, that communication style may not work, right? You may have to find other ways to communicate with people, and the thing is, you have to create a safe space, which is very important, so that everyone feels that they are heard, regardless of
Right.
where they are sitting.
I I I have a similar situation. So I build teams in Mexico for companies in the US. One of the um, one of the challenges we have there is that some engineers are used to say yes to everything, right? Even though
Right,
they could not be able to do it, right? So in Mexico, I know Latin America, right? If somebody invites you to a party, you say yes. It's rude to
right,
say no, right?
right,
Even
right,
though you know you couldn't go, right, or you don't want to go, right? But it's courtesy to say yes, right?
right,
So the same thing applies when a manager in the US asks to one of the engineers in Mexico, "Can you build this by Friday or whatever?" And they say yes, right? So it I teach them about that they're digging their own grave basically, right? Because they're overcommitting, right?
right,
Um,
right, right, right.
yeah,
Yeah,
and, I think they are doing it from a point of view of love, right? It's like I want to please, I want to, I want to do it, I want to try to do it, right?
right,
But the manager on the other side is expecting if you're saying yes, it's because you're committing to do it, right? And
right,
100% you're going to deliver, right?
right, right, right. I think that is where it is important that, like manager, as a manager, you talk to your team, right? That even if you uh, say no, it is okay to say no, right? If you cannot commit to something, or if you cannot deliver something, it is okay to say no. Uh, don't overcommit, because essentially it is going to hurt you, right? It is going to hurt you.
Right.
It is also going to hurt your team as well. So that is the reason, like, you have to create that safe space where people can be honest with you.
Right. Right. On some of the teams, what we do is to create this indirect feedback is we gather the feedback anonymously and then we discuss it internally with the team, and then we tell the team that we're going to share that with the manager,
Hmm.
but anonymized, right?
Right,
And but we have opportunity to review together to make sure that everybody agrees, and we make sure that um, we can review it internally before asking, because if it's something that it's an impossible, it doesn't make sense to ask because it's going to add more friction, right? um,
right,
so but because the manager wants to know what is the feedback, um, and the developers are afraid to speak up, right? So
right,
that
right,
work wonders because then the managers gets the feedback, and then we work towards speaking out to say, well, I said this, right? Or the managers come and say, well, this feedback is a good idea. Who wants to, who wants to do the change or the improvement or whatever, right? Who wants to own it?
right,
And then, we build these steps to give them, as you said, this safe space, right?
right. No, I think that's a
Yeah.
great idea. That's a great idea. Something that I should also implement, probably.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that you like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
um, So, how do you screen and hire engineers from different regions to ensure consistent quality and culture fit?
I think what we have is we basically have a standardized interview process. So in a way, we have sort of standardized our interview process globally. What it means is we have consistent structure with coding. We have system design rounds. We have also behavioral rounds as well. So having standardized interview process really helps, regardless of geography. But having said that, we do tailor questions to assess skills that are critical in a remote setup, because as like teams are globally distributed, right? So everyone is sort of in a way working remotely, or they are communicating with each other remotely, right? So we do have questions to assess certain skills, like uh, if a candidate is uh, can own the problem or not, like problem ownership, how candidate communicates when he or she is working remotely. We also assess the autonomy of the candidate as well. So some of these key areas we try to assess a candidate. Uh, in addition to that, uh, a cultural fit doesn't mean everyone looks same or thinks the same, right? It means alignment with our core values. So we do have some core values within our team, as well as with Roku as well. So we do focus on ownership. We do focus on collaboration. We also see whether a candidate, how curious the candidate is, right? Uh, and as part of our interview process, we also involve a local team members in the interview panels, so that they can also provide the perspective on team dynamics and reduce basically bias. If there is any bias, then that can be reduced with local team members,
Right, right. And also the if the current team members could feel comfortable working with this new hire, right?
which is very
Um,
important. Which is very
which
important.
is yes, yes. Um, yeah. One thing I was coming to the conclusion is that the noise signal ratio outside of the U.S. there's more noise versus signal because you have to go through more candidates to find good candidates in Latin America, and I believe that happens, in other countries as well. And I think that the reason for that is that the quality of training can vary a lot, and then you have all these other cultural issues that we talk about that
Right.
also affect. You can have somebody that is technically good, but if they don't know how to operate remotely and self-manage, then it's going to be an issue, right?
Right. No, that is very important. I think, as you said, right, you correctly mentioned that, like, at least in my team, I'm looking for engineers who not only bring strong technical skills, but who thrive in distributed teams. So people who are proactive, people who are empathetic and comfortable navigating ambiguity. Because in software engineering world, there is a lot of ambiguity when you are solving the problem, right? You may not get all the answers right away. You may have to you may have to navigate through ambiguity. You may have to work with other engineers. You may also have to work with product managers. You may have to work with your stakeholders. You may have to also work cross functionally as well, right, to get to the right answer. The answer may not be given to you right away. So some of these skills are very important when we assess the candidate during the interview process.
Yes, yes, I agree. I mean, I can tell you it of on what I do on that side. I lean a lot on the uh, social skills, right? Because the technical skills are a little bit easier to validate or to test, but or easier to learn, right? You can learn, framework or a new tool, you know, um, that's faster to learn than the social skills, right? So we figured out is that, well, if we find somebody that has the social skills that we're looking for and the experience working with American teams, if they have, then like we start checking those boxes. And then another thing that we do a lot is back channel verifications. So that way um, we can validate the reputation of that person, right, through other work, right. So that becomes very important for us because it allows us to know. Usually, at least in Mexico, we know a guy that knows a guy. So the community is very small, so we can find shared relationships that help us, you know, get a better picture of that person. We don't use that as the final decision, but
Yeah.
it allows us to validate, right?
Right.
Because I've seen a lot of professional interviewers, I call them, that are really good on paper,
Right.
but when they start working with you, they're not good candidates, right?
Right, right. I think having a reference always helps, right? If someone can vouch for the candidate, that really helps. And at very early stage of my career, my mentor actually gave me this advice that it is easy to deal with the code, but it is difficult to deal with people. So uh, people who can deal with the people other people easily, meaning like who have good social skills, who can talk nicely, right, I think those are very important skills, and those are sometimes harder skills to learn than writing code or solving a problem.
Right, right. Because if you can write code, but then if you're writing the wrong functionality, then because you didn't have a good communication with the product owner or didn't validate your assumption as a developer, then yeah, you can be super fast, but you're going in the wrong direction, right?
Right,
Well,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and as a manager, you see that and you say, well, we have to go that way, and you're running that way.
Yeah. That is so true.
Yeah,
That is so
and
true.
yes, and more frustrating when you learn that the next day or a few days later, right? So, what systems have you implemented to make collaboration seamless across time zones?
Right. Uh, uh, yeah, it's a very good question. So I think as I said earlier, right? I mean, this, like, I do have teams in India, I do have teams in the US and Ukraine. So it is sort of geographically distributed teams. So we one of the things that we have done here is we have invested heavily in async first workflows. What it means is, for us, documentation is key. So every design, every decision or update gets logged in Confluence, or like nowadays Slack gets used a lot, right? So we also sort of try to share this documentation via Slack for better visibility. One of the other things that we do here is we try to have stand-ups, daily stand-ups, and those daily stand-ups are held as per region. Like, so every region will have its own stand-up. We will not
Oh,
force
nice.
each team or a team who is located somewhere else. We will not force them to join some other region stand-up, right? Because it won't be good. Uh, uh, and like we also use Jira a lot. So we sort of share our tasks through Jira boards, and we record our updates in Jira. Uh,
Right.
we also have global demos as well, where everyone would come to the demo, they would join the demo meetings, and then they would present what they have worked on, which sort of also helps cross-pollinate ideas and celebrate wins. Because demos, I do feel that demos is a great way to celebrate wins, where everyone can sort of showcase what they have been working on, what they have achieved, and in a way, collectively, you celebrate wins, right?
Right.
Apart from that, I think we also use a lot of tools as well. So we do use Slack, we do use Miro, we do use Datadog to keep communication fluid and observability high. Uh, and then one of the things that I try to do is for live meetings, I'm very careful about scheduling. So we do record sessions. We also rotate meeting times to be fair across time zones, right? So to make sure that every time not only one region team located in one region has to suffer, right? So we also try to rotate meeting times as well, just to be fair.
Interesting. That is, I think, it's the first time that I hear about that time rotation of meetings. I think it's an interesting concept. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, people. I remember probably 10, 15 years ago, it was probably okay. Let's say if you have a team in India and if you ask folks in India to join meetings at the night, right? Probably at 8 p.m., 9 p.m. But things have changed now. Even like teams do like to sort of people do like to spend time with their family, so they also try to have work life balance as well. So after 6 p.m. they do like to go home, they do like to spend time with their family, which is fair, right? So that is the reason when you have a big time zone difference between let's say a team in the US and team in India, which is like 12-hour time zone difference, right? So if we schedule the time, if we schedule a meeting at the same time every time, then one of the teams will suffer. So we try to sort of rotate meeting times just to be fair across time zones.
Yes, yes. I understand the burn of the stress, not stress, the exhaustion that generates, like having to work night and overnight and overnight. It wears the people, right? It
Exactly. It's not
yeah.
sustainable, right? I mean, like folks may attend meetings for few weeks, few months, but then after that, they would just not attend, or they would attend, but then they would not. Their heart and their mind will be somewhere else, and then after some time they will, as you said, they'll get exhausted, and they may also look for some other opportunities, right? So retention is also a key for us, that if we have hired someone, then we want to keep that person because we have invested in that person, right? First 5 to 6 months, most likely the candidate or the person that we have hired won't be productive as much as we want, right? So first 5 6 months would basically go in ramp up time, but then after that we do want to retain people for a long period.
We I had a situation where the manager was staying late night for the release. Um, so I proposed that our team in Mexico, you know, with the manager on the Pacific, our team in Central. For us, it was easy to accommodate to Pacific, right? Because it's just 2 hours. So we proposed, well, we can have some team members on the QA team, and we rotated that. They could work more on Central Time, and then they could, instead of 11 p.m. for the manager in the West Coast, then it was like 8 p.m. for us. So it was much easier time to work, right?
Right.
And then we found a way to compensate that. Like if they stay a little bit longer, then they could take a little bit more time off, or we find a way to incentivize that and reward that voluntary uh, calling, right? And
Yeah.
it wasn't all days, but we I proposed that because I was noticing the manager, you know, adding more stress and more stress with that and other situations, right? So, you know, uh, when we proposed that, it was like, oh, this is a great idea. So we supported that, and then we did the handoff of the release
Hmm.
to the team in India. So they would do the regression tests overnight, and then we would do a lot of the automated tests and a lot of the most critical tests that would say go no go for the release, and then they would, so that way we could save them time if it was a no go for the release, right? But at
Right.
least then they could go and do the all the regression tests that we already had like documented, right? So and then they had the green light from this team to move forward, right? And it worked great, and it was a great improvement, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that totally makes sense. It totally makes sense, and appreciating your employees is a very critical thing, very important thing. In a way, you are sort of when you reward a person, when you reward your employee, you are appreciating your is or her work, right? And it's a great way to motivate the employees as well, your team members, in a way.
Right, right. Yeah, the thing we work on our side is the flexibility on time of working hours. I set up that as a privilege that
Mm.
they earn by doing their job and achieving their goals, right? Um, and having a clear communication on uh, when they're working, when they're not, if they had to leave, I don't know, for the bank, or they have to go and pick up their kids or whatever, that they could be clear about that. So that way, if a manager or somebody else on the team needs to reach out, they know, oh, it's not available now, but that person is going to be available in 30 minutes, right?
Right.
And be there and on the 30 minutes or whatever time it is, right? That way we build that trust, and then the flexible hours become,
Yeah.
uh, it's a privilege, but it's an earned privilege, right? And people work hard to get that, to keep that privilege, right?
Right. No, I think that totally makes sense. Totally makes sense.
Great. So, how has leading a global team influenced your leadership style and communication approach?
I think that's a good question. So, I think so far, I would say it has actually made me much more intentional communicator. So, for example, uh, uh, when I'm in a meeting, I can't assume that people will get it just because I said once in a meeting, right? Especially if the person is not even in the meeting due to time zone. Uh, I'll try to explain what I'm trying to say. Uh, so uh, I think the thing is, what I've learned is uh, I've learned to write more clearly, follow up more often, and communicate context, not just instructions, right? So, a lot of time, what happens is, uh, like to your team, you just give the instructions, that is, or it is sort of you just give the order, which basically is not the right way to do things. You should basically try to communicate, at least I try to communicate more context rather than just giving them instructions. And then one of the things that, as I said, I've learned is write more clearly. Uh, and like I try to be, as I said, much more intentional communicator.
Interesting. Yeah, the lack of context is like a punchline without, you don't hear the joke, you just hear the punchline, right?
Yeah, that is so true. Yeah.
So you miss the joke, right?
Yeah.
What is the joke, right? Um, and I it happens to me as well that I will give instructions and forget about giving the context because it's in our head, and we feel like, well, everybody knows, right? It's obvious, right?
Right,
uh,
right.
yeah, and we don't know what the other person doesn't know, right? You know, we kind of, eventually you can figure out what they do and don't, but if we don't have that conscious thought, then we miss sharing context that is important, right?
It's very important. I remember when I was working as an engineer, uh, I hated when my manager would just give me instructions and not provide enough context. Uh, because then the thing is, it sort of kills my creativity, right? If you just give me the context and then just leave it to me how I solve the problem, right? If you just give me instructions and just follow the order, then that is not engineering, right? You are just asking me to do A, B, C things. And it could be possible that in my mind, I don't see that I don't want to do A, B, C. I want to do probably X, Y, Z, right? So I always like to when I was an engineer, I always liked my manager to give me context and then just give me a problem statement and just leave it to me. And then I would solve it. So that is what I also now I've started doing with my teams as well. where I focus more on the context rather than instructions. The other thing is I've also basically shifted from being hands-on to being a coach, right? So with a global team, I can't micromanage, nor should I. Instead, I focus on clarity of vision, removing blockers. If let's say if any team member has any blockers, then I basically focus on removing their blockers and sort of in a way enabling people to lead locally.
So you build local leaders that can help you support the team.
Exactly. Right. Right. Uh, because right now my current team size is around 20, so I have a lot of team members, right? So I do uh,
Right.
try to build local leaders who can sort of help me. It also helps their career as well, and in a way, it also helps me as well, right? As I said, like I with this kind of team, I cannot micromanage, and nor should I.
Yes, because there's also work 24/7. So sometimes you have to also sleep. So it's not physically possible. Well, it could, but it's in detriment of your life entirely, right? So
Exactly. And you
it
have to
doesn't work
build
long time.
exactly, and you have to build a culture of trust, right? And you have to delegate your tasks. You cannot be everywhere, and you cannot do everything. So you have to build local leaders whom you can trust, whom you can delegate some of your work.
Interesting that you talk about coaching, because I think that's an interesting approach, because you teach them how to manage the team, how to manage themselves, so they can have more freedom. You're not micromanaging them, and also they can be more effective uh, as team members.
Right.
Great. Can you share an example of how your global team delivered a high impact project?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the examples that I can share is we have been working on this project called Media QC platform. Uh, so, we needed to basically automate quality control checks for video, audio, and captions across thousands and thousands of titles. So, Roku being a streaming company, we do deal with the movies and TV shows. We do deal with videos, right? And a lot of times when we receive these videos from different studios, different providers, they could have issues with the video quality. They could have issues with audio or closed caption quality, right? So what we did is like we sort of distributed the work. So, for example, uh, team in the US focused on building the ML models. They basically focused on, for example, they focused on building lip sync detection and audio classification. Uh, 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 team in India focused on building the data pipelines and inference orchestration. Meanwhile, team in Ukraine focused on building the UI and integrated the results into the operator workflow. So, despite time zones, we delivered a unified system that significantly reduced manual QC and caught errors that previously slipped through. So, I would say that was a great example of distributed ownership and cross regional collaboration at scale.
Yes, because the level of coordination for that is very hard.
It's very hard. It's very hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard because, as we discussed earlier, right? I mean, there is a time zone difference. There is also cultural difference. The way teams communicate with each other. All this, all these things actually make uh, the entire project made entire project very challenging. Uh, where people had to communicate with each other. People also had to share their ideas, had to come on the same page as far as the entire design architecture is concerned, right? Because
Right.
uh, various people, various teams would have different ideas how they want to build a system, how they want to see the system. So it was definitely challenging. I would say it wasn't easy. It was definitely challenging.
Yes, yes, because the mating of the parts, that's where things can go wrong, and having people on different time zones and different cultures, that adds to the increase the possibility of a miscommunication that could basically make pieces not working together, right?
Exactly,
Um,
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I think we had to focus on, as I said, like we have to focus on uh, our objective. We had to align on what we are trying to build, uh, and sort of at times you would have conflicts. At times there would be difference of opinions, but then we have to basically, whenever there is a conflict of opinions, we have to get everyone together. We have to sort of do pros and cons of each approaches, right? Because in software, uh, we say that no solution is right or wrong. Every solution has pros and cons, right? So you basically do pros and cons of each and every solution and then go from there.
yes, when you were talking about before about giving context, I was thinking about that. That you know, there are some constraints that could be from business, budget, could be from the technical point of view or legal, that uh, the engineer could have great ideas to how to implement it differently, but if they don't know those specific constraints, then you know it's not going to work, right? So having that context, understanding those constraints, because at the end of the day, there is no perfect solution. It's it's a balance.
It's balanced, exactly. It is balanced. It is
Yes.
balanced. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you have to build a system within constraints, right? The constraints that are being imposed by the business, by your stakeholders. Uh, Cost is also one of the other things that you have to be mindful about, specifically when you are building this huge ML AI models. Cost could go just could just like impact your overall project, right? It might be a great idea, but then it may not be feasible, right? So you have to
Right.
be build your system within the constraints that you have, and that is where the context becomes very important.
Yes. Yes. And the context, and then the ability to work on those pros and cons. Yeah. And it's very tempting to try to do a top-down solution. It's like, okay, I am going to tell you how to build it, which goes back to instructions, right? Um, which could work, can boost productivity on the first days or maybe a week, but in the long run is not a good strategy, because then I built it like that because I was told, right?
Right,
So
right, right.
n- now you don't have engineers that are thinking, you have engineers that are following, you know, instruction from top.
Right, absolutely. I think your ideas need to come from bottom to top, not top to
Right.
bottom. I strongly feel that if you give enough freedom, flexibility, and space to engineers, to your team members, they will come up with very good ideas which you may not even thought about.
Right. Right. So how do you ensure alignment and motivation when your team is spread across continents?
That's a good question. So, what we do is we use OKRs to keep everyone aligned on outcomes. So, at the start of every quarter, we co-create objectives slash roadmap across regions, right? So that everyone feels invested. Uh, and I would say motivation is more nuanced. Uh, I try to make time for regular one-on-ones, not just to check not just to check their progress, but also like on their well-being. Uh, Even as I said earlier, that recognition also goes a long way. So we do public shout-outs during demos. We also have retrospective meetings to celebrate wins, no matter how small it is, right? And I would say most important thing is I encourage ownership. So when engineers in different regions lead projects or drive initiatives, they're not just aligned, they are empowered as well.
Interesting. Yes. Um, One thing that I was thinking, what is the ultimate goal of an engineer, right? Um, I'm sorry, this is a little bit more philosophical, but uh, but as an engineer, we want to build stuff, right? That's kind of the first degree of motivation, right?
Right.
But then, what's the point of building something if nobody's going to use it, right?
Right.
So then the second one is impact in the world, right? If people are using what you build, then that gives you bragging rights, which
Right.
is
Right.
a great motivation, right?
Right. 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 Exactly. So I think that is one of the reasons why, like when we sort of uh, come up with our quarterly roadmap. So every quarter we do come up with a roadmap, like what every team is going to work on, what every person is going to work on, right? So that is where it goes back to what we were discussing about the context, where we provide the context to each and every team, to each and every individual. uh, we take their input. We also sort of make sure that whatever they are working on is actually a real world problem. It is going to create an impact. uh, we are not asking them to solve the problem for just sake of solving it. If you give them enough of context about how it is going to help uh, either end users, or how it is going to save some cost for the company, or how it would basically streamline the processes, or how it will help our operations team. So we do work with our operations team very closely. Like my team works with operations team very closely. So one of the sort of KPIs that we track is how can we make their lives easier, right? So let's say if something is taking uh, 30 minutes today to process, how can we make it faster? How can we reduce that turnaround time from 30 minutes to, let's say, 5 minutes, right? So if we can
Right.
reduce it to 5 minutes, then it's a big win, right? So we try to sort of communicate that impact. And as you said, like I've seen every engineer wants to work on a problem which creates the impact, and then they can also sort of claim that the problem that they solved, the problem that they worked on, actually created uh, the it actually solved a problem for someone.
Right. Right. I was thinking about this when you were talking about these demo days, right?
Yeah.
Global demo days, because that's when you can, I've been working on this for weeks or months or whatever, and here it is, and now everybody's using it, and it's generating this impact and it's hitting this OKR, right? So yeah, I can see how that could, you know, boost the motivation of the whole team, right? And the
Right, right,
person that built it. Yeah.
right, right. And what I've seen is obviously everyone wants to earn good money, but at the same time, sometimes for a lot of engineers, the work is more important than the money, or the impact that they would create with their work is more important than just the money or just the compensation. Uh, that's what I've observed.
Interesting. So what are sorry, has managing a global team opened up new opportunities or shifted your career trajectory?
It's a good question. I mean, absolutely, right? I mean, it has actually expanded my leadership lens beyond engineering. Uh, uh, I now think about team scalability, cross-cultural dynamics, and operational strategy. Uh, I would say it has also opened doors to work on high-impact cross-functional initiatives, things that just go beyond shipping features, like redefining our content ingestion workflows, right? I mean, that is what my team does, or scaling media automation with AI. Uh, so,
Right.
as I said, like it has actually opened the doors to work on some of the high impact projects. And on a personal note, I would say it has made me a better listener, uh, a better planner, and someone who deeply values diversity, not just as a checkbox, but as a real strategic advantage.
Yes, yes. Diversity not as a signal virtue, but as a real diversity.
Real diversity, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
I have a similar feeling when when I build the teams in Mexico, and I coach them and train them to be successful, and I see how they thrive and they are able to take more responsibility. I feel very proud of what they can do, right? Because uh, I am part of their journey, right? And
Right.
I can help not only the client, not only there's money involved, but helping people, getting a better life, or getting a better work situation, right? I am very, very proud of being able to provide them with those situations, right?
Right. You're actually impacting people's lives here, right? I mean, and it's, as I said earlier, like it's not just about the engineering. It goes beyond engineering. Once you start managing global teams, it goes beyond the just doing the normal engineering stuff.
Yes, yes. I had one student that had a bad situation at home, and I uh, suggested that he should leave his house. So I helped him through that process, um, not only financially, but also emotionally, right? Because it's hard, right? And
Right.
and now he has a family. He's working on big corporations. So he's and he's very smart. He's a great engineer. So I'm very proud of all his achievements, right? And being part of that of his journey.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I've
Yeah.
also have a like very similar situation where uh, one of my teammates, I think he wanted to work remotely. He wanted to relocate. Uh, Now, I think specifically, Roku is a very strong in-office culture. Roku has very strong in-office culture where it like company encourages everyone to come to the office instead of working remotely. So, but then he had to relocate because he had some family issues. His parents were not doing well, so he wanted to relocate. So, I mean, I was glad that I could help him out. Right. I had to make a case for him. I had to fight hard for him. But when he relocated and when I see him, uh, like helping his parents at the same time, he's very productive as well. Right. So, uh, it feels good. It feels good, I would say.
Yes, yes, I agree. I think that's, we were talking about going from individual contributor to manager and then managing a global team. I mean, it comes with additional challenges, but I think that the reward personally, it's amazing.
Totally agree.
Um, so, what advice would you give to leaders who are considering scaling their teams internationally?
Uh, I would say be intentional, right? So scaling globally isn't just about hiring more people. It's about how those people collaborate, feel included, and share ownership. Uh, right? And I would also say that invest in onboarding and documentation early. Uh, Treat every region as a first-class citizen, right? And The other advice that I would give is uh, avoid creating silos. So mix teams across regions rather than keeping them isolated. Uh, and finally, communicate more than you think you need to. Uh, Clarity and context go a long way in distributed teams.
Amazing, amazing advice. Yes. So one last question before we wrap it up, because I know you have another meeting, so I don't want to take more of your time. How are you currently using AI and machine learning to improve content management and user experience at Roku?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are actually using AI across multiple layers of our content pipeline. Uh, so one example which I shared with you is to sort of automate the content quality process, where we have built ML models that detect lip sync issues, can detect missing dialogues, or it can also detect video artifacts. Right, that basically helps us automate manual quality control for faster turnaround and better accuracy. Uh, so that's one use case. The other use case, we are also uh, sort of where we are using ML AI is we are also using computer vision and NLP to enrich metadata. So, for example, extracting faces, genres, plot summarization from the content, which sort of fuels personalization and improves content discoverability. Uh, Go
Oh,
ahead.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. I was going to ask about that because basically you can, because you have different sources of data, right? And then you have your own data, right?
That is
So,
correct. That is correct.
uh, and the data from other sources, you don't control the quality. So you need to do your own QC and then match that with your, you know, data so you can search for an actor and, you can find it everywhere, right? Even if there's a typo or whatever on one of the sources.
Right, right, exactly right. I mean, essentially or eventually, when a user watches a content on Roku and something goes wrong, then end user doesn't know that Roku is not the actual owner of the video. Right, user is going to blame Roku if something goes wrong uh,
Right.
with their viewing experience. So we need to make sure that all the contents that we are ingesting into our system, we do a thorough quality control. And historically, lot of this quality control have been done manually, which cannot scale, right? I mean, you are ingesting thousands and thousands of content every day. You cannot have human sitting uh, watching 2 hour long movie to find issues, right? You need to build sophisticated software solutions to detect those issues. And as you said, like there are various attributes here. You could have video issues, you could have closed caption issues, you could have audio issues, right? You could have image issues, artwork issues, right? With one of the examples is, let's say if you are, and you must have seen this as well, when you are watching a video, you see closed captions, and sometimes closed captions may not be in sync with audio. So either closed caption
Right.
is going fast or it is behind, right? And as a user, you get irritated. Oh, what is this, right? Why these closed captions are not in sync, right? So it's not only detecting the issue, it's also sometimes correcting issues as well automatically.
Yes, or they get stretched. The SRT is longer, and then
Yeah,
it gets shifted towards time, right?
exactly,
And it becomes
exactly.
so annoying. Yeah.
So no, yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you very much, Shailin, for joining us. I appreciate you being here, and I I value very much your advice for managing global teams.
Thank you, Federico, and thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you.